So who are you?
I'm Amit Ranadive, one of the co-founders of Dasient. We are a security service that helps protect websites from malware infections.
Very cool.
And I'm Neil Deswani. I am also a co-founder here at Dasient, and we're very excited about protecting websites from all kinds of malware infections.
And before we get into what you guys do, you met at Google, and your third co-founder you met somewhere else.
So myself and our third co-founder Sharik, we actually met in Building 43 at Google.
We love that building.
He had caught wind of a book that I wrote called Foundations of Security that became standard issue for folks that joined Google, and it was just coincidence that sometime after that we all started the company together. Amit and I have known each other for over a decade and met prior to my time at Google.
Well, and at Google you were on the security team, so you were able to study the internet world and all the bad guys and what they were trying to do to everybody else, right?
Yes, that's right. At Google I spent part of my time helping defend Google's business from all kinds of forms of cybercrime, click fraud, malware. Probably saw most forms of cybercrime known to man, and it was a great experience. And so it was just interesting to see that the attackers were shifting from not just attacking big, large target sites, but also attacking lots of small, medium, large sized businesses of other types in automated ways.
Yeah, and that's sort of how I learned how I was hacked, and I bet I see this on Twitter and everything. When most people don't think about this stuff, right? They don't want to think about it. They don't want to think that some guy is going to hack their site and put some malware up or do something nasty and take down their site. A customer of Rackspace I saw, they just took the whole site down and started putting funny stuff up there, which was fun for the hacker to do, but a pain for the business owner. We usually learn that we've been hacked when we do a search on Google and we start seeing, oh, Google's turned off your site and says that this site has some malware on it, and that's what happened to me. My traffic went way down, right? Because Google turned off all the links to my site because it was like, hey, this guy's been hacked and there's something wrong with this site, right?
So Google, as well as other search engines and browsers, are taking a very aggressive stance with regards to dealing with malware on the internet, and so they do display in search results annotations that say that this site may harm your computer. But for basically their goal is to protect users, which is exactly the right thing to do. Of course, for the webmasters, when this happens, it can be a frustrating event, and so it's important to provide services to help those webmasters out. So at Dasient, we have developed a set of services that provide monitoring for websites, such that if and when a website does get infected, we will let the webmaster know before their customers let them know, before Google flags the site, before Yahoo marks the site as having dangerous downloads, etc. Yeah.
So let's start there for that group. For that group that just learned this morning that they got hacked, by either a customer complaining, "Hey, you just got my machine full of spamware" or something, or Google has turned you off. What do you do? I know a little bit about what to do, but you guys know a lot more.
So what a webmaster can do is they can come to our site at dasient.com and enter their domain name into our check your domain box. And so we have just to show an example of how someone can deal with this, we have a website that we intentionally infected called thejumpbeat.com. And so if the owner of jumpbeat.com finds out their site has been infected, they can click check your domain, and once they create a quick account with us, just using the same password, basically what our site does is it will confirm indeed that the site has been blacklisted on Google or Chrome and other sources, and basically do a real-time scan where we crawl and scan a number of pages on the website and identify exactly the page or pages that have been infected, and identify the malicious code on that site that was causing the problem and resulting in the drive-by download. So what this does is it puts the webmaster now in a much better position to know where the infection is, what went wrong,
Yeah.
and basically they could eliminate this code from their site to clean up the infection.
Well, I did that, right? So I figured out where they were putting the code, because I can read HTML and I could figure that out. I fixed it once, and then it happened again, because
That's
I
right.
didn't fix the underlying problem, which was my WordPress wasn't upgraded to the latest version. So that's first thing. I fixed that, and it happened again. So they're already into the
That's right.
innards of your system, and they put a back door, right? Which means that they can keep coming in, even though you keep fixing all these problems.
So,
right?
so every website will always have vulnerabilities, right?
Yeah.
And that's one reason that having constant monitoring in place is extremely important.
Yeah.
There's other technologies that we've built that help remediate these kinds of attacks in an automated fashion. And in fact, I can show a quick demo of that. So from a true story.
Yeah, and actually, before we get onto that, one thing to keep in mind is the web itself is becoming a lot more interdependent, interconnected. You have websites that are mashing up content and ads from various places, and it's just continuing to build more and more openings and vulnerabilities. We call them structural vulnerabilities for hackers to put malware onto websites.
Yeah.
And so even if you do everything in your power to keep your site clean, keep all your web applications updated, there's going to be these attacks that come up from time to time. In fact, what we've seen is that a website that gets infected, typically 40% of those get reinfected again within 3 months.
Yeah.
And so it's very important to keep that monitoring going on for a website.
Oh, absolutely. And so in my case, update to the latest version of WordPress, right? Get rid of the admin account. Delete it, or change it in some way that will keep the automated systems from finding that account. So change the name of it.
That's right.
Change the password of it.
That's right. Don't use the standard default user names and credentials. Just make sure that yeah, that makes sense.
We had another customer who was hacked by having a stupid password, right? Don't use password as your password, right? Because, or don't use even a dictionary name, right?
That's
Don't
right.
use blue sky as your password, because somebody's going to be running a dictionary lookup on your
That's right.
passwords and trying to get in, right?
But one of the interesting things is, even if you do all that and your site is completely quote-unquote secure from everything that you can do, simply by, say, having ads on your site. You could have cases where the ad network gets infected and basically ends up serving a infection to a user just because you have ads on your site. So that's an example of a structural vulnerability where just because of the structure of your website, you can still get infected, right?
Yeah.
And that's another reason it's important to just have constant monitoring and remediation.
So how does your monitor, because monitoring is really important, especially if you get hacked, because if you know within a couple minutes that you've gotten hacked, first of all, you can turn off that piece, or
You can lock it down.
you can lock it down, but you could fix the problem before Google's spiders come over and say, hey, you're full of
Exactly right.
malware, I'm going to turn you off, and then all of
Yeah.
your traffic disappears.
Yeah.
And it takes hours, days,
That's right.
weeks sometimes to get Google to turn back on and put you back into all of its
That's
pages.
right. So finding out right away is extremely important, right? And then
We can
the
tell you
more-
about a specific example,
Yeah,
actually.
go
So
ahead.
there's an e-commerce site that we've been working with. They actually sell lighting fixtures and ceiling fans, and they were having the same problem where they were getting hacked repeatedly, and they were having malware on their site, and every time Google would flag them, it would take them several hours or days to clean up the problem, then file the appeal.
Yeah.
And then what we did is we started to work with them. We helped them by monitoring their website on an ongoing basis. And now, if and when their site gets infected, we actually notify them, well ahead of time, give them enough time to go in. We point out all the URLs on their site that have been compromised and the specific piece of code they need to remove. And so that gives them that amount of time to be, go in there and actually lock down the problem before they would get flagged by Google or anybody else. And so since we've started working with them, they haven't been put back onto the these various blacklists.
Now you actually have a site called Mr. Rogers'
So
Neighborhood.
this is another true story. So what happened last year is Mr. Rogers' website got infected. Amit had actually reached out to their hosting provider, and to just give you an example of what happened, the site got infected and was serving bad things to all kinds of folks that were visiting the site. In this demo, we have an example where we've depicted the infection using these skeletons. Of course, in a real infection, the bad guys make sure that the code is invisible. If the user were to visit Mr. Rogers' website when it's infected, basically the website would use various vulnerabilities in the browser, in the plugins to the browser, in the operating system to take advantage of technical vulnerabilities that would result in a drive-by download coming to the user's machine.
Yeah.
And of course, if a search engine's crawler or scanners picked it up, they could flag the site. Now, to address the problem, what we do is, and we've depicted the infection here as these skeletons.
Right. This would not be visible usually.
This would not be visible usually.
That's how it happened on my site. There was invisible code that you
Invisible
couldn't see
iframe.
to your eye, but
Right.
the machine can see, right?
That's right.
That's right. That's exactly right. Now, lucky for this Mr. Rogers site, we have deployed a set of our remediation technology on the web server, such that if and when it gets infected, as it is right now, the webmaster will receive a report saying that the site has been infected, the infection has been found on this particular URL, and they can click this box saying, protect my users from these infected URLs.
Yeah.
When they click update, our backend servers will make an authenticated connection to in this case, Mr. Rogers' website, to let the web server know it's been infected, and it gives it automated quarantining instructions so that the infection can be remediated in real time. So if we were to simulate another user coming to this page by simply hitting reload, we see that the web page can continue to be served, but our software has automatically stripped out the infection so that you don't have to do it manually.
Oh, that's really cool. And that way, can you run this from an iPhone? So if you're, out to dinner and you get a warning,
Absolutely.
Can you say, oh, get that off my server right now?
That's
and
right.
Then I'll fix it when I get home?
That's
Our
right.
reports are web pages, and you just click protect my users on the form, hit submit, and you protected your web server remotely.
Yeah.
We can also configure.
This keeps you up on Google, right? Because
Yes, exactly
Google
right.
spiders will visit it
That's right.
every N hours, right? They
That's
don't
right,
visit
that's
every
right.
minute, but
That's
they
right,
visit
that's right.
every N hours. And so if you remove it quickly enough, you won't get kicked off of Google, right?
That's right.
That's right.
Which
And
is
so
really
Yahoo
important.
is also has similar kinds of protections.
Yeah.
Basically, they'll mark sites as having dangerous download. So
Yeah.
really, it's about making sure that your site is available to the entire internet community.
Yeah.
And
Well, this is really important for business, right? If you're getting business off of the web
Yep.
and you disappear,
That's right.
you're done.
That's
You
right.
know, it's
Yeah,
like
that's right,
it's
that's
like your
right.
door's locked, right?
Yeah,
that's right. So-
and customers
so-
can't come in the front door.
That's right, and browsers are also taking these steps as well. So if for instance, you were to arrive at an infected site, even just in Firefox, you could just type in thejumpbeat.com into Firefox. The example that a user would get is they'd get this red screen of death saying reported attack site. So this is pretty much what happens to a site when it gets infected. So it's all about making sure that the availability of the site is there, that it's not infected, and that's not hurting your users.
No, that's cool. So that's what to do if you're infected already. And we've covered a little bit about how to be proactive and protect yourself ahead of time. Do you guys show that my site hasn't been updated? Do you run an audit and say, hey, Scoble, your WordPress is old, and you have some plugins that aren't updated, and in other words, do you look for common attack vectors?
Absolutely,
right.
we can provide risk assessment. So
Yeah, one of the things that we do provide is a malware risk assessment report, where we'll actually go and do the similar kind of scanning of the website, and we'll look for all these structural vulnerabilities that could cause malware infection. So for example, if you're running, say, a third-party traffic counter on your website, it's a JavaScript widget, that could actually end up being a vector for attack, because if that third-party provider gets infected, now all of a sudden that infection comes onto your website and you're spreading it to your users, and you can get infected. And we've seen that happen before in the past. Similarly, if you're using ads, if you're running ads on your network, we can have a malicious ad that comes in and infects your users. Or if you're using an older version of, say, a blogging package or an older version of a web server. So in this case, what we're showing up here on the demo is this is a site that we've done some fingerprinting of the web applications. You can see that we scanned 1,000 URLs on the site. We identified about 400 risks, and we've categorized the different risks by the type of the vector. So are they running external JavaScripts like, say, traffic counters, pull widgets, those types of things? Are they running ads on their site? Are they running external images? Because even if you're running, if you have images on your site, sometimes hackers can embed malicious scripts into those images, and then when your browser tries to render those images, it'll cause a virus to come down to your computer. So we check for that, and then finally we look for the versions of applications you're running. So in this particular case, this website, is running outdated versions of PHP, Perl, WordPress, and Microsoft IIS. These could all be potential openings for attackers to inject malware onto the website.
Yeah.
And the benefit of what we're doing here is we're raising the awareness for them. Now they can over time upgrade these packages. It's probably going to take some amount of time, maybe days, weeks, or months to actually get all these up to the latest version. In the meantime, we're running our scans and we're providing that automatic remediation for the website in case they do get infected.
Now, even if you were doing everything perfectly,
Mm-hmm.
technically perfectly,
Yep.
right? You have the latest WordPress. You don't have a lot of vulnerabilities. You're monitoring it.
Yeah.
You can still be socially hacked, right?
Mhm.
We talked about how the
So-
Chinese got into
Mhm.
some places
Yes.
through this technique of spear phishing, which
That's
is
right.
That's right. So
you
so
attack your friends. You get your friends to send an email saying, "I need your password" or something like that, or get a company to send you a password, and you turn it over, or somebody stupidly gives out a password, or they put a stupid password into the system, right? And all of a sudden they get hacked. Do you help companies back up their servers as well, so that even if you did everything technically right, but then you got hacked on socially,
Well,
and your server's down?
I mean, I think
Yeah.
that backups are extremely important. If you're one thing that's interesting is that even if you get socially hacked, right, and there's say various comments that are put on various blogs, there's various things that can be done with regards to remediation technology that would eliminate those malicious comments or those malicious pieces of the site.
Yep.
So there's things that
One
we
of
know
the
there as
things
well.
we've seen actually, and you mentioned getting your password cracked. There's actually this big attack that happened last year called Gumblar, which folks may not be familiar with, but it was an attack that actually did an automated. They would steal FTP credentials by getting a virus onto, say, a website administrator's PC. That virus would have a keystroke logger. So when you logged into your website to put new content on there or to manage the website, they would steal your FTP credentials and then use that in an automated way to then put malware onto your website.
Yep.
And it was a vicious circle because once that malware got onto someone's website, somebody else that visited the site would now get the keystroke logger on their computer, and if they were a website admin, their site would also get hacked. So it was like a self-propagating virus, if you will, that was going from the website to people's PCs back to websites, and infected over 80,000 websites in just a little over 2 weeks.
Wow.
So it was a big, a new kind of attack
A new
that we
kind of
haven't
attack,
seen before.
and it's these automated attacks are in many cases the most promiscuous. But even for the socially engineered attacks, it's important to have a quick reaction, and
Yeah.
so
Absolutely,
have
to
services
figure
that
out.
provide that quick
First of all,
reaction.
you need to see keep getting hacked. They got something,
Right.
And now you have to figure out what they got and
That's
close it
right.
down. But you have to have backups to get back
That's
up,
correct.
and it's nice to be able to turn off. We have just 1 minute left. Can we know a little bit about your business? How much do you charge for this service, for instance?
So we offer this as a subscription service to websites and website owners. Typically, it's charged on an annual or monthly basis, and the retail price for this can range anywhere from, say, on the very low end, it could be, say, $100 per month up to, hundreds or thousands of dollars, depending on the size of the website.
Yeah.
It's really a matter of how large the website is and how often we're going to be scanning and checking.
Why is it
for
so
malware.
expensive? 'Cause that seems pretty expensive for most people.
From the standpoint of the business, if they're off the air, for
Yeah.
days, they're possibly losing tens of thousands or maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue.
Yeah.
So this is one defense that they can use to deploy that could actually help them to reduce this risk of getting infected with malware, getting blacklisted.
Yeah.
And if you also think about people spend money on antivirus for their PCs, and that's typically protecting just their employees and their corporation. This is protecting every single user that comes to your website and your brand and reputation. So, that's kind of where some of the
You can see it's almost like car insurance. Why do I have to pay so much for my car insurance? But when you get in a wreck, it's like, oh, thank God I did that. Anything else? How are you guys funded? And tell me a little bit about the
So
funding.
we raised our seed funding back in late 2008. We're funded by some amazing investors. So Stratton Sklavos, the former CEO at VeriSign, is one of our investors. Mike Maples, who's also invested in Twitter, is also one of our investors. Eric Benamou, who's the former CEO at 3Com, is also one of our investors. So we're blessed to be working with such great folks.
Yeah, very top tier VCs. So where do I learn more about it? At
Come
Dasient.com?
to Dasient.com, and there's all kinds of things you can do. You can have your domain checked. You can get a free risk assessment, and there's a lot of information. You could sign up for a demo, and to help protect your service, you can also purchase the service. Given the kinds of protections it provides, it's actually a very reasonable rate.
If your business is down, you'll be glad you'll pay that $100 a month or $250 a month. No problem.
The service will more than pay for itself.
Yep. Thank you so much for a little bit of a
Thank you,
talk
Robert.
Thank you very much.
on how to protect our websites, because this is real important stuff.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.